Hi, and welcome to Reimagining the Business Through Application Innovation, an HMG Strategy webinar powered by Google Cloud. I'm Tom Hoffman at HMG Strategy, and I'll be your MC for today's event. Our featured speaker for today is Chris Hood, Head of Business Platform Strategy at Google Cloud. Our guest speakers today are Emmanuel Salazar Dominguez, IT Director at Banco Azteca, Ramesh Razdan, Global CIO at Bain & Company, and Dr. Kenneth Russell, Chief Innovation Officer at Curran Biotech. Our moderator for today's event is Hunter Muller, President and CEO of HMG Strategy. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. So in today's event, we'll explore how application innovation is helping to shape the future of business. We'll also examine opportunities for leveraging data-powered innovation to develop adaptable applications. We'll share examples of leading companies that are successfully utilizing application innovation to effectively move their businesses forward. And finally, we'll dig into the business and operational benefits behind API-fueled application innovation. We'd like to make this event as interactive as possible, so please share your questions and your comments with us either in the Q&A icon or in the chat function. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Hunter.
Great, thanks, Tom. Great to be here with you all today. Thanks for dialing into our digital broadcast here with our friends from Google and some top tech leaders from around the world. Truly a global event here. You know, I think now more than ever, it's the time has come for the technology executive, the technology leader, to help accelerate, reimagining, reinventing the internal customer experience and external customer experience, help facilitate, enable, and lead true innovation and true invention with the business. You know, it's so exciting to be here with such a great, amazing global partner being Google Cloud, and fortunate to have Chris Hood here. Chris is an amazing thought leader in his own right, has his own podcast. And Chris, welcome to today's webinar, today's roundtable meeting. We truly do want to make today interactive with our audience. Hey, Chris, set a little context for us with Google Cloud, your role, and some of the thought leadership that you're seeing out there, and what you're hearing from CEOs, boards, and line of businesses to set it up.
Sure, thank you. And definitely welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Chris Hood. As mentioned, I'm a digital strategist at Google Cloud. At a very high level, I spend a lot of time talking with our customers and various prospects who are thinking about moving to the cloud about how they're going to make that happen. And I think the biggest thing that is on a lot of people's minds today is around disruption. We've all been faced with disruption over the course of the last year and a half. And the interesting thing is that disruption comes in a lot of different forms, whether it's, say, pandemic, or if it's just market trends or customer preferences that evolve over time. And that preference or disruption that happens is really the motivation behind innovation when we start looking at business today. And so a lot of what I do at Google Cloud is help customers understand how they can accelerate that innovation, how they can build cultures within their organization around innovation, and how they can streamline their processes so that they can avoid that disruption and be successful. And I think a lot of what we're going to talk about today is just that.
When you think about application innovation and the cloud, what are the accelerants and where are the big opportunities, Chris?
Well, one of the big ones that we talk about often is in APIs. So as a technology, application programming interfaces are what really helps build connections between your products, your services, your data, and your customers' experiences. And these APIs are often looked at simply an integration mechanism, but what we're seeing is that APIs are opening up a broad new world of opportunities to monetize, grow business revenues, reach new markets, compete in ways that you haven't before. So APIs are definitely one of the technologies that are helping in this disruption avoidance process and to really help you innovate faster, get to market, in new ways. But if we put APIs aside, really the broader conversation is just cloud in general. Cloud is all about reaching your customers in the ways and the mechanisms that they expect to engage with you in. And if you're not supporting that, they're going to go off and find somebody else that will do it in the way that they're looking for.
So truly, it's meeting the customer on their channel, at their level, and a frictionless experience.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talk often about digital transformation, and I like to look at it a little differently. I tend to look at it as customer transformation, because it's not necessarily the digital technologies that are evolving right now. It's the customer preference that is evolving. They're more in tune with the technologies that they want to engage with on the platforms they want to engage with in the way and the mechanisms that they are loyal to. APIs, as we talked about, cloud, help you to deliver those experiences in the way that transforms as the customer's preference transforms. And that's that's sort of a different way of looking at digital transformation. But again, that's one of the ways that we discuss it at Google.
Excellent stuff, Chris. When you think about the whole notion of reimagining of the business, it's a big task, right? Reimagining the business models, the strategies to go to market, change management, getting people to think and change, think differently and change other ways. Any tips on helping regarding that journey of reimagining the business and an innovation agenda?
Totally, yes. You actually started to touch on it at the beginning, where this is not just about internal or external, it is both. And organizations struggle all the time with understanding how to develop a strategy, especially technology strategy like APIs, as a mechanism that can be used both internally and externally. Exposing data becomes very hard for people to accept. It's challenging for them to wrap their mind around, and that's ultimately what we're talking about. This is simply a mindset change. You have to start thinking about it differently. It's not hard. It's not some big complicated strategy that's going to take you 2 years to do. This is simply saying, as an organization, we're going to change our mindset about how we approach technology. It's not going to be a digital transformation. It's going to be a customer transformation. It's not going to be API as a means for integration. It's going to be API first to help us speed through our innovation processes. So this is all just about taking a different look at what you want to accomplish and then changing that mindset throughout your organization so that you can be successful.
Chris, great stuff. There's also another angle on this. It's in this digital world that we're living, and you touched on it in your opening remarks, disruption and innovation is happening at a speed we've never seen before. And having a success strategy or a winning strategy matters. Using a sports metaphor or analogy, the winning team matters, right? So winning digitally matters, winning with your customers matters. Talk to us a little bit about having a winning mental strategy, not only as an individual, a team, but the whole organization.
Well, there's a lot of ways you could look at that. On sports, if we want to keep it in that, you've got a coach. You've got somebody who's driving that culture for that team to win, to be successful. Businesses are really no different. You have a coach, you have a head coach, you have a CEO, you have leadership who has to implement that culture within the organization for success. It can definitely come from the ground up. There are movements all over every business about, hey, how about we do this? But I'll tell you some great stories. Somebody like a Domino's Pizza, whose CEO came out one year and said, we are a technology company. We're not a pizza company. Because they knew that if they developed the technology that their consumers wanted to use to order pizza, they would sell more pizza. And they did. That was their winning strategy. And it came from their coach, their CEO down. This is our culture. This is how we are going to be successful. And this is what we are going to do. Get behind it or don't. Help drive that mindset change that we're talking about, or don't. Do it or be disrupted.
Excellent stuff. So again, clicking down on it again, how important it is to have that winning, successful mindset?
It's huge. Look, we're all in business for a reason. We could say to make money, to make a change in the world, to make a difference, to sell something that we believe in. And if you're not doing that, then why are you in business? You know, and we talk a lot about old companies, such as like a Blockbuster. Blockbuster was hugely successful. They got disrupted. They went out of business. But it wasn't that a technology ultimately put them out of business. They had the mindset of people like to continue to come into our stores and walk down the aisles and select a movie. They didn't want to evolve with their customer demands. And that's all part of this winning mentality that you're talking about. You're either going to do it or you're not. And if you're not going to do it, it's like if you're hiking or if you're running a marathon, that last quarter of a mile is excruciating.
Right.
But you pull through because you want to win. The US Open is on right now. And I know one of our panelists loves the US Open. If you watch the men's final, and I don't want to give it away, you saw that drive for success and that winning spirit. You've got to be able to establish that same type of mindset in your business so that you can win.
Great stuff, Chris. Perfect. I agree with you 100%. Well, I'll circle back to you in just a minute. Hey, next up is Ramesh. Ramesh, you're a Bain & Company. You guys are an amazing top tier strategic consulting group. What does innovation look? What's your role, first off, and what are you focused in on, and your thought leadership? What are you passionate about here on the topic, and how do you foster innovation at Bain?
Thank you, Hunter, for having me. It's really wonderful to be part of this panel. I think my role is we look at CIO, CTO of our Bain & Company, but more importantly, as you talked about, Bain is a company that helps companies realize their full potential. As we think about businesses getting disrupted, and the number one disruptor today is technology, there is the intersection of technology. How do we actually innovate with the business is the something that actually I'm helping Bain & Company do that, and in a number of ways. I think about the role that actually we deliver in 4 different categories, 4 different value that as technology can deliver to any company, and more specifically for Bain & Company. I think the first and important is how can we, I think Chris just touched upon it, how can we reimagine customers, how can we reimagine delivering value to our clients? Now, we're not in a technology business, we're in a management consulting business, but helping them accelerate value by delivering digital products and services or insights at a very different velocity than they're used to. So one, accelerating business, helping our clients deliver on that. I think the second most important, as we know, is today is people are working everywhere. People are working remotely, people are working in office. We hire some of the smart people, and we need to deliver a world-class experience, a frictionless experience. When we think about digital transformation, it's all about experience. It's all about removing the technology complexity. Technology has, I call it, starts and stops. It actually, but it left a friction in between. How do we actually build that experience that actually wins our clients today and tomorrow? So the second part of it is helping us hire and retain the best talent in the industry. I think third one is, as we go as a company, is how can we simplify and scale? This is where APIs come into picture, but APIs are all over the place. We need to simplify, scale, and digitize processes across the business so that we are delivering the same experience internally than externally. So it is, I 100% agree with Chris. It's not an internal versus external. It's a continuum of how we build what we do externally, deliver on internal.
Excellent.
And I think the fourth area which we talk about is, as you do all of that experience, one of the key things, APIs, it's a critical thing to thinking about APIs, but security becomes even more critical. You deliver experience, you deliver outcomes, but how do we deliver that in a way that it is secure for our clients to consume internally, externally? So embedding security the way we do it rather than an after effect. So I would think about those 4 values: accelerate client, world-class experience, simplify internally, scale our businesses, and secure our business.
Good stuff, Ramesh. Let's get a little more technical. When you think about application innovation, how are you helping build new business models, new go-to-markets for your clients and internally?
We are doing a lot on this thing. So I run all the software products for Bain & Company. One of the things we think about, as I said, is we have a lot of unique IP, a lot of the unique way we actually approach problems. And I give you a few examples here to think about. As we think about COVID, one of the things that was pretty clear that the supply chain resilience was not clear. How do we actually view supply chain? So how do we conceptualize, visualize, and tell our CEOs what is your supply chain? What are the friction points? What are the weak spots in the friction that we are actually in the process of building a tool that will actually help us conceptualize that. I think the second part of it, as we think about more of an operating model side, is I think we know every company is a technology company, but is driven by this agile operating model. Fundamentally, how do you work in an agile mindset? And that kind of breaks all the organizational barriers that are out there, because organization in its own current sense is kind of hierarchical based, and agile kind of breaks it apart. So how do you conceptualize? How do you think about an organization in a very different mindset where you're focused on outcome rather than focused on hierarchy? So we are conceptualizing, thinking about how do you visualize that? How do you think about that? How do you deliver outcomes to our clients? How do you help companies think about where you are dealing with disruption? How do you put most of your effort towards meeting with the disruption? So 2 key examples, how are we conceptualizing the value we deliver our clients in more of a digital way so we can accelerate the outcome for our clients?
You know, it's great to have a vision and it's great to reimagine, but if the people don't get it and act on it consistently, those values and beliefs and those new behaviors, you're not going to get the desired outcome. Ramesh, any tips? What's the short list of great Bain insights around getting cultural buy-in and cultural shift, cultural acceleration?
I think cultural acceleration, obviously you have to have first and foremost top-down vision and strategy. What are you trying to do and how are you trying to win? I think the simple is strategy and how to win is a critical thing. But also understanding your clients, because one size does not fit all. I think different channels need different types of engagement, needs different types of platforms to deal with that. Somebody may be more mobile, the other may be web, and third may be brick and mortar. So understanding the personas, understanding the clients who are consuming your products and trying to meet them where they leave you is I think the key part of the story in this digital story, because one size does not fit all. I think you have to make sure you meet the clients where they are.
Great stuff, Ramesh. We'll circle back to you in just a minute. Thanks so much. Hey, next up, Ken. Ken, you're in a relatively new role at Curran Biotech. Tell us about Curran and your role and the industry, and set a little context for us.
Sure, and thanks, Hunter. I'm happy to be here. Great conversation so far. I've already started my typical mind map that I do as I sit in these discussions. But yeah, Curran Biotech is a material sciences company, and we're focused on developing and bringing innovative nanomaterials to the market. So that's from like biotelemetry stuff, solutions for optical networking. And then of course, right now we're focused on nano-coated air filtration products designed to help stop the coronavirus. So it's pretty interesting and kind of wide range science kind of products and solutions. My role as a chief innovation officer, I believe, is similar to what a lot of CIOs are going through right now, experiencing this kind of drastic change in what their traditional role has been into what a role that would be more valuable and relevant in today's world. Specifically, it's no longer just about managing technology, right? It's about contributing to the entire business. A lot of our colleagues in the C-suite don't have a great background in technology, and they need us to help them with new solutions and new direction. It's about contributing, it's about jumping in and helping them use technology and to create new inventions, innovations, and growth.
Great stuff. And what kind of experience and success are you having now in this new world?
You know, it's interesting. So just this new product that we've got there, we have to be quick, right, in our business and accurate. We can't just kind of get close. We've got to hit the target. And getting inventions to market is difficult enough, and we can't spend times on things that detract or slow us down. We have a saying, Hunter, we're inventing the wheels, we're not reinventing. So, and that's true for our development efforts too. We don't want to try to recreate a DevOps environment when we can just go to the cloud and partake, right? So I've always been a big believer of tapping into a data-driven application environment, for example, and even more so today, especially as Chris was saying, this idea of the need to consume. That's one of the words that I kind of circled here as he was talking about the mindset change you have to do. You don't have to have it in-house. You can go to the cloud, and as long as you've got a secure trust or relationship with the cloud, and exposing your data with secure connections, you're going to be okay, because that's where things are going.
Great stuff. You know, thanks, Ken. We have a poll we want to launch. Let's see if the HMG team can launch the poll. What is your biggest challenge you're having with APIs today? Can you see that poll being launched, folks? Not yet? Okay, let's move along. We'll come back to that. Over to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you come from us. You make this truly a global summit today. Thank you for being here. When you think about your role at Banco Azteca, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Give us some context where you are in the world, the organization, your company, and your experience with Google.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Hunter, today. It has been a very good conversation. I'm working in Banco Azteca. I started as a developer. Right now, I'm charging the digital transformation program that we have here. To give you a little bit of context, Banco Azteca is one of the biggest banks here in Mexico. It's very huge. And we are part of a group. It's called Grupo Salinas. And we also have retail, telco, TV channels. So we have a lot of different companies that are working together. And we start all of these digital transformation process from the financial aspect. We start with the bank. So 3 years ago, we started working with Google in this new path that we want to follow, because we realized that we need to move as fast as the customers are moving. You know, right now the people it's looking for the services and products where they need it. No, they aren't willing to go to a bank and start doing their business. They want to have it as fast as they can in their phone, in their mobiles. So we start looking on this path so that we can achieve these business programs that we are looking for. So in the company, we have invested a lot of time with this program, and we truly believe that this is the present and also the future. We started before the pandemic situation, but now with the pandemic, everything has speeded up. So right now we are seeing all these digital services and products that we have, mostly based on APIs that are the key factor for us to be differentiated from the other banks that we have here in Mexico.
So when you think about it, APIs truly can drive application innovation. Was Google an amazing partner to help you in this, visualizing this roadmap and getting it done?
Okay, you know, that's a very good question, because in the beginning, we start seeing this as a technical project, more looking into the details of the specific platforms that we have. There are a lot of API platforms that we could be using, but when we start looking into the program that Google offers, they set for us a framework that we have been working on around all this process and how to get the APIs to the point where it really means something for the business. It's not only the technical part of it, but also that we are looking that this is the enablement that we can bring to the business so that we can achieve the goals that they have. So for us, all of these have been very, very important. And, you know, I want to be very clear with this. We have been very successful in these 3 years because we start very small. We start with a small team that works in specific projects, the low-hanging fruits that we have in those times. But now the API program, it's mandatory for all the financial sector of the company, and all the developers are working in this. So for us, this guidance from Google was very, very good, very important, because it was not only the API. The API, it's like the first step that we are taking, but we also behind the scenes are also changing the development process that we have, the way that we interact with our business leaders, so that they also are seeing that the API program is a mindset that we need to change. It's a cultural change more than the technical part of this. And we are also having a lot of standards practices that we are trying to replicate with all the teams that we're working on. And as here in the company, we have like 1,000 developers working in different programs. So it is hard if we start just saying, okay, every time everybody needs to develop APIs, we are going to get into a point that this is something that we cannot manage because everyone is going to do it the way that they want. So we start with this center of excellence based on the recommendations that the Google team give us. And with this center of excellence, we have been spreading the standards, the methodology that we are looking for, and that have been helping us a lot to get to the point that we want.
Great stuff. Really appreciate you sharing your roadmap and your journey. You know, over to Chris. Chris, you know, again, winning matters. Having the winning team matters. I'd imagine it's amazing working with the Google team, the Google innovation team, when you're mapping out a enterprise architecture and strategy and looking at accelerating API, an API strategy that's going to work for that customer-centric enterprise.
Yeah, and I'm going to wrap back around because we didn't get very clear definition here on Banco Azteca. I'll have to say that they're selling themselves short in what they've been able to accomplish over the last 3 years. So, you know, they've got hundreds of products that are digitized now. They have, about a year ago, they had 20 of their business units using their API program so that they can innovate. And then, as you just mentioned today, they've got a center of excellence that has implemented this standard across their organization, which is a huge feat within itself. They have probably close to 10 million transactions going through their API programs, and that's roughly 50% across all of the channels that they use that are reusing their products. These are just outstanding numbers for a bank. I've talked to a lot of banks globally, and I just have to reiterate the success that they have had with their program is mostly, yes, we came in as Google Cloud and helped give them the roadmap, but it's mostly their winning actions, their embracing of the strategies and the technologies, and their ability to execute on it. It's absolutely fabulous what they've been able to do.
Chris, don't you love helping your client win? Isn't it the best
Yes.
feeling?
Yep, absolutely. It's why I do this. I love nothing more than to go in, sit down with a company, share with them some thoughts, and let them go and just be successful. It's truly exciting.
So what's the latest, Chris, lexicon in terms of we had waterfall, we had agile. What's the latest lexicon or language around frameworks around highly functioning, highly engaged API teams that are innovating together with the business?
Well, I think it's still agile. I tend to like to change the word up a little bit. You know, I think too many people get confused with agile development and the means by which you have to focus on developing and innovating within your organization. Sometimes I like to say you have to be more nimble, right? You've got to be able to evolve and adapt in the moment. This is no longer about what's my 2-week or my long-term roadmap or what's my sprint and what am I going to develop. This is really about understanding what has to change based on disruption and demands and expectations in that moment. And the beauty about APIs is it allows you to be nimble enough and the cloud to evolve fast enough so that as disruption happens or as customer demands and expectations change, you can change with it. It goes back to, again, this concept of digital transformation, which is technology can't seem to keep up with what is being expected of it. And so how do you get to a point where it doesn't matter what the expectation is, you're always going to be prepared to be nimble or to evolve? And so you can call it agile, you can call it nimbleness, you can call it whatever you want, but really it's about understanding the root of the scenario. How do I evolve in the moment to meet our customers' expectations?
Great stuff. Hey, Chris, help us out also regarding forming the right team early on in a big initiative or a little initiative. Is having the right stakeholders there early on, having, I think Ramesh said, top-down buying and sponsorship, but having strategically people from the business that understand core markets, parallel markets, new markets, adjacencies, the new vision, and how do you create that seamless, frictionless customer experience, and while you reimagine that new business model, that new service, that new go-to-market. Who are the key people early on, and how do they stay connected as the team drives the API roadmap?
Sure. So there's two key premises here that we can talk about. The first one is it's no longer business versus technology or technology versus business or a collaboration of technology and business. It's all the same. The sooner you can wrap your mind around there is no business and there is no technology, it's a company, the sooner you're going to be successful. And those business stakeholders and technology stakeholders, put in whatever C-level suite you want to call them, must communicate with each other, no matter what. And if they're not, you're not going to be successful. So break down the barriers, no more silos. Business, technology have to be on the same page no matter what. And then next, we did talk a little bit about a center of excellence. So when we talk about innovation, or when we talk about digital transformation, or whatever buzzword you want to call it, here's the next mindset. They are not initiatives. They are not projects. These must be departments within your organization. You should have an innovation department, no different than you have an HR department, a marketing group, an engineering team, whatever the case might be. Innovation must be part of your DNA within your organization. Or if you want to call it digital transformation, or if you want to combine them in some way, then you have a digital transformation team with its own budgets, with its own OKRs, KPIs, with its own team that is doing nothing but focusing on how your organization can be successful. And so if you've got one view, business and technology together, and you've got a team focused on digital transformation and innovation, then that is the framework for you to make these changes that you need and that your customers are expecting. And then that center of excellence can kind of bring it all together, because the center of excellence is all about not necessarily defining standards, but looking and understanding at what your customer wants. So what question should I ask my customer? What are we analyzing? How do we analyze it? What tools are we going to use to analyze this data? How do we capture that data? And then what data are we actually going to focus on to contribute back to our roadmap so that we can build what our customers are asking for? And so there's a feedback loop in there, and there's an organization that's sort of facilitating all of those activities. And again, it's working full time. This doesn't go away. I asked the question one time, when will digital transformation end? And the fact is, it doesn't end. So as long as you have that kind of mindset, you're going to be successful.
Hey, Chris, just going to plug in for you here. How can people reach out to you, connect to you, or the Google team for more source material, white paper, website?
Sure.
Ideas, thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll give you a whole bunch. I'm on all of social media, so you can usually find me at Chris Hood anywhere on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, feel free to do that. My email address, if you want to reach out to me directly, is chrishood@google.com. I have a podcast. It's a great source for you to find and listen to thought leaders and information about these different types of strategies. And you can find that at That Digital Show. And you can find it on any podcast platform that you would like. And also the Google Cloud blog. There's plenty of really insightful articles and blog posts about different types of strategies you can find there. And Apogee has monthly webinars. So Apogee is an API management platform at Google Cloud. It specializes in this. This is the tool that Benko is using. And so if you want to learn more, sign up for one of our free webinars. There are every month and lots of great topics. And I'll probably see you in one of those when you join. So
great stuff. Thanks, Chris. I understand we have the results from the poll. Guys, can we post the results, please? Okay. All right.
So this is really interesting, just to touch in on this. This is actually probably one of the most common challenges that we see as well. And that is, you have an entire organization, you have APIs that are across that organization, you have different teams that are building APIs as they need them for whatever application they need them for, and they're not sharing them. And so what happens is you have another team that comes and says, I need an API that does ABC, and that API has already been built. But because it's in a siloed team somewhere else within the organization, there's no opportunity for you to reduce your application and development time because you're off reinventing the wheel, so to speak. And so one of the great strategies for an organization is to begin to map out all of the APIs across your organization. Now, to give you a perspective on that, I just had a conversation with a director at HP, Hewlett Packard, and I asked them this exact same question. How many APIs do you have across your entire organization that are cataloged, understood, identified, and in a standard library? And he said 50%. So they still have halfway to go to catalog all of their APIs. It is a huge undertaking, but once you do it, you're more than halfway to the sweet spot for application innovation.
Great stuff. Thanks, Chris. I'll circle back to you in just a minute. Hey, Ramesh, over to you. When you see the results from the survey, any surprises?
No, I think there are no surprises. Or, as I said, organizations are built sometimes around hierarchy, and they kind of try to keep things away from people. And in this, the modern world, I think the organization silos itself, I think maybe while they're ready for stuff, we have to make sure the organizations share and there's a common vocabulary and common place where people can go. I think that's where the API marketplace, or having the platform itself and being able to, I think part of that is incenting people to do that. I think today, sometimes, a lot of times people want people to share and there's no incentive. So we have to make sure what is the incentive for people to share? What do I get if I share? Because generally it's not there, but it's no surprise to me. I think it's kind of a manifestation of how we have generally organized and what are incentives in an organization rather than what are incentives for a broader transformation in the organization.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ramesh. You know, same question I asked Chris a few minutes ago. Your thoughts on building a world-class, high-performing team, starting with the end in mind, how to create that visual picture of the new business model, a new service, and have the right players in the room early on to tee it up. Any additional thoughts or builds?
Yeah, I think we have done a lot of work on this. So to me, there are, and we broadcast into 4 types of archetypes. You can actually do that. Maybe you could lay down a foundation, which a lot of companies do that. They put a foundation in place and the ROI is not there, then they get into trouble. So, but you could start with foundation. The other model is just start around, you can do a customer back. A lot of places where success is there. I think we have good use cases from whether that's Amazon or a lot of other clients today who are actually client back, start the transformation, digital transformation back. So I think understanding what is your starting point, you could start from building up from a legacy. It's kind of hybrid. You start something new, something old, because that's a practical study. You cannot change the world overnight. And I think the net one is a lot of places you need to start net new. If you know that digital is the way to go, or whatever the new model is, you can conceptualize this digital attacker model set as well, net new. So you could be laying our foundation, you could build a hybrid, you could actually build a complete new business model customer in, or you can build a digital attacker. I think all of the best practices to me is to make sure you're clear and you're again, top down, you have a clear strategy and you have an organization model that supports it. A lot of times there is friction and there's not clarity in the organizations. How do you actually bring that together? It's marketing is not aligned with sales, sales is not aligned with service, service is not aligned with IT, I think it's making sure all the stakeholders are in one room and there's a common understanding of what we're trying to do, how we accomplish, which kind of goes back to my this agile operating model, however we call it agile. I think we have to shift to more outcome-oriented deliverables, outcomes, rather than how the organizations are set, which is a hard thing to do in an organization.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ramesh. Hey, Chris, back over to you. You know, you can't think about application innovation without addressing security. What's your take on it, and how do you address it in the ideation process and throughout any initiative or any rollout or strategy?
Yeah, security is on top of everybody's mind, so you must have that as part of your strategy. I think what's interesting is a lot of times organizations confuse security with speed to market, and that we have to ensure that we are secure in our application and our mechanisms, et cetera. And that's at the risk of getting things out to market in the way that customers want. And so if you're sitting around planning and thinking, well, we need to go through this security view and checkpoint, and obviously everybody's going to have a different perspective on this, and our customers are demanding this application, but it's going to take us another quarter before we can release that, then I think you're thinking about it wrong. And APIs can be a mechanism to establish a standard for security. We see a lot of security wrapped around AI and ML now to support that. We see things like bot protection that can be automated. We have CI/CD pipelines that can do automated checking of security practices so that it's all part of the release process. I think there's a lot of things that can be done as long as it's not at the expense of your speed to market. And I think if you think about it in that context, then again, you're in a better mindset than we have to go through a separate security process to ensure that everything is locked down and protected.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Chris. Hey, Ken, over to you. When you think about securing everything, keeping everything safe and secure, how much time do you spend on security yourself?
It's part of what we do. In fact, everything that we do is about security. And that's a big mind change for working with scientists, Hunter. It really is, because leveraging professional networks, personal networks even, is how things have always been done with science. You kind of collaborate, someone's got an idea, someone's got something to share, a data set to share, and they've historically just sent over a spreadsheet, which you just can't do these days. You just can't email a spreadsheet like that. So a quick example is assembling and working through the myriad data sets that we have been working with to come up with our capture coding product that we just released. In the old days, a scientist would do everything with their spreadsheet, maybe even on the back of a napkin kind of things even. But that's difficult to share, impossible to tap into innovations, and impossible to secure in the scientific community. But now, and I'll kind of, echo some of the things that Chris said about these security APIs that allow us to connect to environments in the cloud that give us that security de facto, right? To tap into that connected world of near real-time data, research, and results that helped us go from, and this is the true story, Hunter, went from a patent application in February of last year to a real commercial product by May. It's almost unheard of that you can do these things now. So security, we couldn't have done it without it.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ken. We want to open it up to questions from our audience. So when you think about technologies that you're looking at for the future application innovation, what are they? And any questions for our distinguished panel here, you can place those questions in the chat, and my team will surface those and we can air them out. Over to you, while we're doing that, Emmanuel, over to you. When you think about cyber and keeping things secure at a bank, I think you guys it's got to be a priority, right?
Sure, it's security and also to keep the operation. When we think about the innovation, we also need to be sure that we are keeping the business as the customers are expecting. There's a high risk if we do it in the wrong way, it doesn't matter if it is security or operation, we are putting in risk the customer. As a financial institution, we need to be sure that we are available 24/7. So the people need their money, they can get it and perform the way they want. So for that, we start, and I think that's really key, to have this starting team that starts spreading all the standards. And when I speak about standards, it's also the pipelines, all the security constraints that we are building around the API ecosystem that we have right now. And you know, we start developing some kind of different profiles. So we know if this API is going to be consumed public through mobile devices. So we have a set of rules that we need to follow all around the operation and the security that we need to keep. If it's going to be used through our point of sales, then we have a separate set of rules that we need to follow. So we start performing this, and now when we start analyzing a new requirement, we already know how we are going to be handling this, and that helps us a lot to speed up the process so that we don't stop the innovation. We are pushing a lot to have very fast time to get into the market with the products, but at the same time we are trying to replicate the scenarios and the standards that have been helping us to have all of these secure. And you know, in these 3 years that we have been working, we have never had a issue around security or anything that put in risk the program. And that's the way that we get the confidence of all the high directives in the program, and they start trusting that this is the right way to do it. As we start growing, we start with small processes that maybe doesn't have the core operation of the bank, but now we have all the core processes already through the API program in the platform, and we need to be sure that we keep all of these working fine, speed up the time to market, but at the same time keep everything in the way that it's expected to be behaving.
Perfect. Thanks so much there, Manuel. I want to invite Tom Hoffman back to the digital stage. Tom's our head of research at HMG Strategy. He and I have been collaborating together for, true story, 30 years. I found him in the world 30 years ago, and he's been an HMG fellow for 7. Good to see you, Tom.
You as well, Hunter. So we do have a few questions that have come through, and the first question is for Chris. Chris, from your experiences working with clients, what are the aspects of application innovation that are most often overlooked?
Yeah, so I would say there's 2 areas. Again, I think APIs is an area that's often not addressed adequately. APIs are often looked at integrations. They're often looked as an internal mechanism to connect systems together, connect different data points together. But APIs are really fascinating when we look at it from a customer perspective. If you think about every single action that you have done so far today, either on your phone or even this meeting right now, there's an API somewhere behind it. And so if you think about just experiences, shopping, going to the grocery store, curbside pickup, ordering something online, logistics, setting your temperature in your house on your smart thermostat, there's APIs everywhere. And so if you can start to think about that experience and how you can innovate really interesting experiences for consumers, start with thinking about what's the API that's going to support that. Because when you do that, then you have an API that you can reuse for another opportunity to innovate. And we see a lot of really fascinating digital experiences out there around that. I think the other thing, just really quickly, it's just, again, the culture of your organization and how you can discover ideas throughout your organization from anyone. We talked earlier that innovation should be a team. You should have a team that's focused on it. But really, innovation and ideas can come from anybody within your organization and anybody outside of your organization. So when we talk about application innovation, are you getting ideas from other people? Are you getting ideas outside of your organization? Are you getting ideas by exposing your APIs in an ecosystem and allowing people to buy those APIs or monetize those APIs or use those APIs so they can innovate applications on your behalf. I think if you structurally look at that, then again, you can come up with really fascinating opportunities for applications that you just wouldn't have done it if you're just thinking amongst your product team and your engineering teams.
Hey, Chris, I want to throw this out there and just throw it in, get your response and the panelist response. I actually think we're in this critical moment of technology innovation disruption, and the tech leader or this innovation center can really accelerate the innovation and invention of new platforms, new ecosystems, new complete business models, go-to-markets, leveraging APIs and data. And when you think of what Tesla's doing to the auto industry, they really are raising the game, not by one factor, but by maybe 10 to 20 factor, where it's going to be difficult for the traditional auto companies to ever catch up to Tesla because they're so far ahead. But you see that in Amazon, the same idea, right? You see that with you all at Google. You guys have done such an amazing job of connecting the world. I mean, thoughts around truly, most companies aren't in that space. If you're a middle of the road company, how do you get the big vision and get buy-in at the C-suite and through the whole company and get that group together and put a match under it and some gas on it to make it go?
Well, let's just use your Tesla example for a moment. For anybody out there that owns a Tesla, I do not, but just imagine you're getting into your own car. How many times have you gotten in your car and you've reached to do something in your Tesla or your automobile and you're like, I wish I could do something, whatever it is. I wish that was different. And it doesn't have to be your car. Everywhere you go, you are thinking in your mind, oh, I wish I could do this action differently. That's innovation. That's an idea. Now, how do you capture that and share that with somebody? Like, I get ideas all the time for ice cream flavors. And I think I'm going to write these ice cream flavors down and either produce them myself in my kitchen, or I'm going to send them off to Ben & Jerry's and hope that they produce them. Is Ben & Jerry's listening to every single request that comes in? Yes, they are, because you alone cannot come up with all the ideas. You have to be able to accept ideas outside of your organization. So, and I've got tons of stories around this, and feel free to reach out to me and I'll share them.
Great stuff, Chris. Ramesh, comments on what Chris has commented on?
Oh, I think it's fantastic comment. I think maybe one thing I add, we just did a recent research on this whole innovation, why you want to be a leader in technology in some cases. What we found, tangible outcome is, if you are generally 14% of the organizations globally are leaders, leading the pack, and their ROI is roughly 3.5 times faster. So it's not just, you're not doing it sake of, I think there's a survival aspect to it, but there is actual ROI aspect of it, which is actually you can do a lot more things. And I agree with what Chris is saying. I think there needs to be a focus on some team, but innovation is a mindset, is not an organ. It needs to be a mindset of the organization, and an organization as well as the listening part of it to say, what are then the adjacencies? For traditional companies, the goal generally is to go in around adjacencies. You cannot disrupt the current business model to completely do a U-turn unless you create a new business. You create an independent organization. The opportunities are on the intersection of, if an auto industry is doing something, maybe they can do a little bit more with oil or whatnot. I'm just talking about that adjacencies are a good market to think about. And or if you are thinking maybe this market doesn't exist, then maybe complete U-turn is an opportunity as well. But generally adjacencies is a good way to start.
Great stuff, Ramesh. Ken, 1 minute kind of closing comments and then over to Emmanuel.
Sure. Real quick on this one. So I echo what Ramesh says and certainly what Chris said, but we've talked about the 4 elements of what I call a digital transformation or customer-based digital transformation. We've talked about sharing. We've talked about the need for being focused on the consumer, but we also need to talk about, we haven't said this word yet, amplification. We need to amplify all that we do. We have this very popular title of being a database administrator. It's time to stop being an administrator and being an amplifier in our organizations.
Great, thank you. Ken, Emmanuel?
Sure, just to finish, I would like to share that we start very small. Now we have dedicated areas Chris mentioned, and now we are being able to execute projects, very huge projects. For example, the past 2 months, we were working in a very specific project where we end up with more than 100 API products that we are using now it is in production. So we realized that with all these process that we have been having as company, evolving this methodology or these standards or all the culture that we need to develop, we have been able to achieve a lot of success and being very good in the execution part of this. Even that we start very small, in 3 years we have been grow a lot, and I think it's very huge to follow. And the goals that the business are setting for us are being reached basically because we are now able to execute with all of this.
Great stuff. Thanks, Emmanuel. Hey, big shout out. Great panel. Thanks so much to Google, Cloud, and Chris, Ken, Ramesh, Emmanuel. Tom?
Yes, thank you all for sharing all these tremendous insights with us. And thanks to our audience for sharing these questions and joining us today. This concludes Reimagining the Business Through Application Innovation, an HMG Strategy webinar powered by Google Cloud. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at an upcoming event.